Media and entertainment is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, and the alignment of entertainment, information and technology is catalyzing its progression. It is standing at an inflection point with digital with its buzzword. The wide-scale adoption of cloud computing, social networking, wireless mobility and the proliferation of devices is creating a multitude of new opportunities for telecom, media and entertainment players. As they converge, they are forming a space we could call the digital ecosystem. This is generating many risks and challenges for the government policies, as well as presenting new opportunities for creating social and economic value. On this note, we would like to introduce the topic for the panel discussion: Media and Entertainment, Mobilizing Content Delivery, Fueling Digital Revolution.
To control the ebb of the discussion, I would like to call upon our moderator, Mr. Vikas Sharma, Country Director, Neo Mobile. Mr. Sharma has over 17 years of work experience in telecom, media and IT organization, encompassing P&L management, business operations, strategic planning, product development and solution sales responsibilities for global service providers and large enterprises. Presently, Sir is working at Neo Mobile Group as a Country Director, managing P&L for VAS services and M-commerce business for India. He has worked for organizations like Bharti Airtel, Microsoft Corporation, Reliance Communications, Tata Teleservices and Aricent across Europe, North America, Asia Pacific and India. Over the years, Sir has carved the niche of his own in telecom and especially in value-added services domain, developing and imbibing innovative technology offerings and implementing world-class products and services across variety of screens. As an evangelist of the mobile entertainment world, Sir often features as speaker and panelist in several mobile industry events worldwide. We welcome you, Sir, to SITM.
I now call upon our next panelist, Mr. Muthukumaran A., General Manager, Ericsson India Global Services. Mr. Muthukumaran is heading Media and Applications Practice within Consulting and System Integration Business Unit of Ericsson Global Services. This practice hosts over 350 practitioners delivering system integration services in the area of NGIN, service delivery platform, messaging, location-based services, and TV for Ericsson's customers worldwide. Prior to joining Ericsson, Sir has gained 15 years of ICT experience from IBM. Sir, we welcome you to Communique 13.
Next, I would like to invite once again on the stage Mr. Ishwar Jha, Founder and Chief Executive, Avni TV Solutions Private Limited. So, we once again welcome you to Communique 13.
I would now like to call on the panel Mr. Reggie Cherian, Vice President Telecom, Media and Entertainment, Capgemini. Sir has joined Capgemini in 2008 and is an industry veteran with over 2 decades of experience. As Vice President, Sir heads the telecom sector for Capgemini in India, which supports the TME consult, design, build, operate solutions for several high-profile clients, including Tier 1, 2 and 3 global telcos and media majors. Prior to Capgemini, Sir was the Executive Director and Managing Director of T-Systems India, the systems integrator subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom Group. Sir commenced his career with the Siemens Group of companies, spending over 15 years with the group, finally departing from his role as Chief Technology Officer for the Siemens Shared Services Operations. Sir, SITM welcomes you to Communicate 13.
I would now like to call on the stage Mr. Manpreet Singh Khurana, Vice President, HCL. Sir is a seasoned IT executive with 17 years of vast IT experience. He has been associated with the HCL Group for last 1 decade. At HCL, he is responsible for delivering and managing IT infrastructure blueprinting, architecture, and IT operations. Sir is also responsible for the IT delivery for 12 global delivery centers outside India. Sir has IT infrastructure experience in his 16+ years across all IT domains and verticals such as data center infrastructure, global telecom infra, IT security and networks, operations and projects, architecture and governance, remote infrastructure management, and IT consulting. He specializes in IT blueprinting, strategies and roadmap planning, IT projects, engineering and operations, IT P&L, IT solutioning, designing and architecture of data centers, enterprise applications, and operations. We welcome you, sir, to SITM.
Next, I would like to call on stage Mr. Shashin Devsare, Executive Director, Carbon Mobiles. Sir has about 2 decades of experience in IT and telecom fields. Previously, Sir has worked in the areas of strategic business planning, brand equity development, channel management, P&L management, and strategic account management via his associations with companies like Samsung India Electronics and Philips Consumer Communications in the past. Till 2008, Mr. Devsare was working as National Sales Manager for Samsung's IT businesses in India, wherein he successfully achieved #1 market share in LCD monitors category. As Executive Director of Carbon, Sir heads marketing, international business, mobile ecosystem development, and corporate strategy. Sir, we welcome you to Communicate 13.
I would now like to call our final panelist, Mr. Parag Sule, Group Manager Telecom, Atos. Sir has over 18 years of experience of sales and marketing function in India, US, Africa, and Middle East. Sir is an innovative thinker for end-to-end solution selling along with the required partner ecosystem. Few of his innovative modes of service offerings to control operational expenditures include software as a service and remote infrastructure management. Sir, we welcome you to Communicate 13. I would now request our moderator, Mr. Vikas Sharma, to kindly preside over this discussion.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here amongst all of you, and it's a pleasure for myself to be amongst the august company of all these people on the dais. One thing I can commit to you is we wouldn't take as long as we should be. What it means is we'll try to keep the discussions between ourselves as little as a couple of minutes, and we'll be open for more questions and be available for discussions after the session as well. That's one thing which is committed from us. To begin the conversation, I want to highlight that in this discussion, telecom and media and entertainment functions, we're going to talk about what are the key factors that make this whole ecosystem successful, what are the challenges we're going to experience, and what makes it happen for you. We also beautiful things like WhatsApp, Skype, messaging, or calls, or a television serials. What makes it happen? How these things come to us and we can beautify and monetize. Those are the kind of things we're going to talk about. So on the dais today, we have team members who are consulting team members. We have people from IT and telecom infrastructure background, and people who can bring in devices skill set and the telco experience. That's important for us is we've got a holistic experience on the dais, so feel free to ask as many questions as you wish to. We would start in a round-robin fashion to get inputs on the verticals from each one of them, and then open for questions. Parag, would you like to start?
Thanks. what I would like to start with is, see, this entire discussion is what is it for me? I'm trying to answer or trying to pose that question, what is in it for me to telecom, to media, to IT companies like the Capgeminis, Atos, HCLs of the world, and to the mobile device manufacturers like Carbon. And why all this? To answer, what is in it for you? So after you hear this, you guys, you can tweak your resumes accordingly. So I'll just spend a few minutes on how focus on the evolvement of the industry for telecom. So I'm going to take you back in two buckets. One is around 2007 to 2010, which is 3 years. 2010 to 2013, how it has evolved. Second is how an IT industry is catering to this evolvement. Then we are talking about what are the next 3 years, how are we going to monetize it, what is in it for the next future. So all of us have to cater to that, and that's how we will go ahead. That's what I was thinking about. Just to take you back, 2007, 2010, IT industry typically was focusing on building its IT infrastructure, which includes hardware, applications, billing, CRM systems. 2010 to 2013, the telcos' focus was predominantly into cost optimizations. Similarly, on the media and entertainment side, in 2007-2010, their focus was on broadcasting, content production, publishing. In the last 3 years, it's into entertainment. Focus is into broadcast engineering, so infrastructure, storage, high resolution, high speed. Right now, subsequent to that, how is the IT industry catering to that? So we are talking about, the billing companies like the Amdocs, Convergys of the world. They have been taking, the prime role over here. Subsequently, it went on to managing the OpEx. And later, we are now talking about high-resolution mobile. Next 3 years, what we anticipate is monetization. So how do you, consume the content? How do you reach to the consumers? From a telecom perspective, what is there in it for them? It's the data, the bandwidth, the network which they have already established to reach the consumers like you and me. So media companies are going to bank on that. Telcos are going to take advantage of that. And from an IT services company's perspective, how are we going to adhere or align to this would be developing applications, having a lot of integrated systems, cloud offerings, and probably mobility. So all applications which were earlier available on desktops, how can we get it on the mobiles? So that's from my side. Probably if you want to.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I was just thinking that a session which is going to have media and entertainment in it, and if it will not have Ishwar involved in the panel, it will be very strange. So I'm very happy that you are there. Also, there was an earlier session that I saw, and in which one of the speakers asked all of you a very simple question. And let me tell you that maybe his objective of what he wanted to derive out of that would have been different. I was very happy to see the response, and the question was very simple. They asked you guys, how many of you tried to do some kind of a research study before you decided on a mobile service? And very few hands were raised. And when it was on mobile handsets, a lot of hands were raised. And I think the very reason that a young company like Carbon is making such big strides in Indian market is because of all of you. So big thanks to all of you, first of all. When we are looking at media and entertainment in specific, I think there are a couple of things that need to be looked at, and one of you also mentioned that when it comes to statistics, it's all true, and if it has been analyzed, or rather analytics, if it has already been placed, then one needs to have some very serious and meaningful deductions from that. So let me give you some of those. A recent figure that came out, and maybe you would have also come across it, there are about 83 million active internet users in this country. Now, that sounds like a big number, but definitely not a big number for a 1.25 billion, strong country. But from the devices side, if you see, there are 431 million connected devices that are already there. So there are 431 million internet-ready devices, and there are only 83 million active users. Why is that? I think two very simple reasons. One, either the absence or the quality of the data services that is reaching across to most of the consumers is not that great. Secondly, which I would elaborate in the session later, is I think the absence of local content system. And I think if these two things are going to be addressed, then if somebody considers India as a country which is not consuming data today, then I think they are grossly mistaken. And let me give you some statistics on that. What I call as an active data consumption and a passive data consumption. So active data consumption is what one would be doing over the networks, let's say, and passive data consumption, which is happening through storage, memory. And if you look at that, then just in the first quarter of 2013, there are about 20.38 million devices that were sold in this country, which included things like which you and I use on a daily basis: pen drives, memory cards, and a large portion of them was actually mobile memory cards. And this, takes me back to one experience that I've had earlier when we were, setting up the distribution for Carbon. And, I was visiting one of the cities which I'm sure that, most of you would have heard of, called Jalore in Rajasthan. And, one of the distributors asked me that, and I'm talking about 2009, and 2009, in places like Delhi and Bombay, there were not many people who were carrying phones that would carry memory cards in them. And this distributor asked me, the first question was that if this is a new brand, will it have a memory card? And my question to him was, what are you going to do with it? And then he took me to one of the outlets which was just about to close down during the twilight. And it had a small, 486, 80, PC configuration kind of a thing lying over there. And he had a gadget attached to it in which he was inserting the SIM cards and loading content. Now, whether, how much of it was legal, what kind of content was going in is a different subject area, and I'm not talking about that, and I'm not even, trying to touch upon that. What I'm trying to touch upon is the fact that this is a heavy data consuming country already. And the statistics that I've shared with you, I think they are, proof enough for that. If we were to look at any meaningful progress that we would like to take as far as media and entertainment is concerned, then I think, first of all of us will have to understand the fabric of this country. And I would say, fortunately, the fabric of this country does not lie in Delhi, Bombays, or Punes of the world. And we need to really go beyond that. And that's where when Indian mobile phone brands have gone, they have been able to achieve that kind of success. So today, 50% of the smartphones market, which is supposed to be a really more evolved market anywhere in the world, if that is being cornered by Indian mobile phone brands, then that is because we have a better understanding of where the actual market lies and creating products for that. So when you guys move out in your respective professions, I hope that you would keep that in mind. Do I continue, or you would like to do a round first? A minute. I cannot. I have lots to say. I think we'll do a round. Yeah.
Evening, friends. Just to take the thread from where my colleagues just spoke, I want to give a perspective. The reason we are here debating digital revolution, I would say it sort of grays into the zone. Is it revolution? Is it evolution? Is it transformation? Is modernization? Because if you look at on the stage and this panel, there is the gray hair, the no hairs, and you are the digital revolution that's sitting up ahead. We are trying to learn from you. So before I came onto the stage, a little while ago, there was this, your branding lady asked me a question, what do you expect of SITM? What does industry expect of SITM? The industry is where I'm going to take you back in time where possibly a large segment of you didn't even exist, which is not too long ago. In your years, it looks long, but in our years, it's almost like yesterday. We had concepts like OIT, it means own your own telephone. You book a telephone, you wait 3 months to get a phone. The customer waited for service. Today we are in the age and world where the customer defines the service. That's the transformation that the world has seen. India does leaps in decades. When India was still having cable-based connection of operators sitting and connecting, and the world had moved on to digital telephony, we swung and came into the GSM space, doing a 20-year leap. We constantly hear the doomsday messages or the dismal messages of what is India, our policies, our government regulations. We talk about piracy in India. We talk about digital rights management. Why I'm spewing in my messages data-related aspects that is relevant to each and every one of us in our daily lives. As you see the evolution that's happening, the revolution is created by every single citizen on this planet. And the revolution of data is going to take a course that will overwhelm each one of us. 2 years ago, when I sat on the same podium on a similar panel discussion, we were talking about the internet revolution in India. Last week, I was on a panel where we were discussing, will we replicate the .com of 2000 with the datacom of today, tomorrow? That is a responsibility, each and every one of us and yourselves as a generation of tomorrow, to ensure that the lessons from the .com don't replicate itself into the datacom bust. There is no form or means in which a datacom bust can happen. Data is going to grow. It's for us to define, discover, and a key word that's been through the whole day messaging has been around innovation. When Sony started the whole concept of miniaturization, that was a paradigm shift in the world. Now the paradigm shift on innovation is not about complexity. Paradigm shift today on innovation is simplicity. Think simple. Make it simple for the user. We heard about customer experience. We heard about entertainment. We heard about products that can pre-launch products that is coming on. That is the world of tomorrow. That's the world you're growing into. That's the world of your opportunity. And that's our world of what we see as a future, where we sit back and watch you make the world of tomorrow.
Good evening. And let me take 10 seconds to say this is a wonderful opportunity for me to share and collaborate ideas and thought process with future leaders of telecom industry, such as you, and as well as the current leaders in telecommunication industry. So, Parag was saying, what is in it in this evolution? What is in it for telcos, broadcasters, media companies? I'm going to slightly focus on the telco side of things, because I come from Ericsson, and telco is, of course, is a very core and traditional business for us. But then Ericsson as a company now is also focusing on media and industry, TV and media as an industry vertical in a large way, right? And in the television and media industry is, of course, going through a tremendous, unprecedented transformation, like Rajiv was referring to. But who is causing this transformation? It is you and me as consumers, right? We want rich, interactive, anytime and anywhere entertainment, right? So that's what is causing this whole transformation. And in the convergence of broadband communication and media technologies, right? And with IP and mobile networks coming together to create and deliver this experience, it is actually creating opportunities in the ecosystem for every one of those players, whether it be telcos, broadcasters, or media companies. Yeah. And in every time when there is a new service that comes in, that actually sort of redefines and expands the way in which we as consumers experience that entertainment. Right? And this kind of puts, in a way, it's a challenge for broadcasters, be it broadcasters or telcos or media companies, to come up with newer economic and creative demands. It places on all of these businesses. Since the time is short, I would actually want to cover a few other things, but then I would actually jump onto one of the newer service offerings by Ericsson, which is called LTE broadcasting. I would like to link that with some of the previous talks that you had on LTE, and there's been talk on data growth being 30x or 100x. But according to Ericsson Mobility Report, the video traffic is the biggest single contributor, for the growth of the data traffic growth in mobile networks. In fact, it's not going to stop there, but it predicts this is going to grow annually 60% till 2018. Right? So this kind of massive entertainment consumption sort of places a challenge on broadcasting and media companies, because they have to process the media in larger quantities and increasing number of different formats, right? Because if they want to reach out to consumers on any screen, on any device, they have to cater to all of these demands. And those are some of the challenges that are in front of all of the businesses which are part of this TV and media industry. Ericsson, of course, is present in a significant way in all the critical areas as far as TV and media is concerned, be it video compression or content aggregation, exchange and delivery, or TV delivery infrastructure, multi-screen TV. Ericsson holds the 25% of the IPTV market share globally, right? And also a world leader in TV compression and related services. The recent offering, which is what I'm going to spend a couple of more minutes on is LTE broadcasting. This, in a way, if you recall, Vishwanathan in the other panel discussion from Vodafone was talking about the challenges faced by operators with LTE, right? And this LTE broadcasting is, of course, an extension of LTE network, and this actually enables the operator to efficiently manage their investment in their network and spectrum investment, and also sort of creates new business models through service differentiation and by creating newer revenue streams. Right? So like I said, this is extension of LTE or an evolved packet core. I'm not going to go into technical details, but this is a simply, I can't say simply because it's a quite complex system and offering, but it's a software upgrade on existing LTE nodes. Right? So as and when Indian operators go full-fledged into LTE, we could look forward to using this offering. A lot of those killer applications are entertainment applications on mobile networks. Right? So essentially, this brings in three key offerings for the operator. One is it allows the operator to manage their network assets by being able to multicast premium content, right, to all users simultaneously. Right? That's the key. So it sort of brings in the stability or the quality of delivery. It ensures the quality of delivery. So the operator and the media partners, have the freedom to offer different innovative business models, because you don't have to worry about congestion or the failure to deliver content to the consumers. Right? And the second thing is it helps monetize the off-peak network capacity by delivering offline media delivery or managed software updates. Right? And then, of course, lastly, it enables the operators to create new business models such as time slot auction, specific time slot auction. Right? So key use cases, of course, include you can look to live stream any events, and in real-time TV viewing, and also deliver media and software updates, offline. And the other use cases could be automobiles. Mr. Ishwarja was talking about live TV in car. This can enable content delivery into screens and cars, and also enable software update for key systems, right? And then emergency alert in a certain natural calamity situations in a particular region, for example. So those are the opportunities that it presents for the operators. I just wanted to cover some of those offerings enabled by this LTE broadcasting. So.
Thanks, friends. Hi, good evening, everyone. And it is lovely to be here. And I think I came last time a month back on a consortium of SMAC. So everyone has given a very nice brief of the telecom sector of it and the overall persona of what they have been handling and the company they have been representing too. So all of you who are entrepreneur of tomorrow or a business analyst of tomorrow or a good positioning that you will be establishing tomorrow whenever you reach to corporate life. So I think two things which are very, very important that each of you should take about is the trends, about knowledge on the trends and knowledge about the benchmarking. Is there a right or a wrong about any of these two? Answer is absolutely no. Is these trends are right or the trends are wrong? Answer is no. Is the benchmarking that we set is right or wrong? Answer is no. Which means the relevant that you are or your thoughts are into the system or into the environment that you are handling are the utmost important. I just take back to Mr. Shashin, Carbon being number third, I was saying employer, number third mobile maker in India is too very nice to hear about. Too very nice about on this achievement. So what is that? They have been captured Indian market, and Mr. Jha was showing that YouTube is a 2/3 bandwidth consumption perspective throughout the world. Second thing Mr. Jha was showing was that internet is being picking up via the mobile gadgets is too very high throughout the worldwide corners. When we are talking of AT&T and a BT of European and US side, Airtel and Reliance, which is India giants, which means there is a trend which is talking, benchmarking which is talking. So be having an idea on that is my view, and I want to give a thought on that. Secondly, this session is about CDN, content delivery, media entertainment content. Device could be A, B, C, D. Everyone has talked about it. And since morning you are hearing on that. I'll not repeat those. So content delivery, what are the basics around content delivery? It is the output of it. There is a lot more inputs and crores of rupees, millions of dollars goes into the creating those black boxes, those data centers over which the networks, the MUX, the fat pipes, the IT security, the data center equipments like storage, systems, servers, their applications, so in brief, hardware and software, plays so very important role. And then we say that, when we see any movie, it's buffering. What is that? Packet shipping is taking place. So it could be on a mobile, it could be on an iPad, it could be on a laptop or a desktop or whichever way it could be. So I'm just trying to give you the topic of IT needs behind the content delivery. Device could be any, medium could be any, right? That's another thought which I wanted to give on that topic. And at the end, it is about IT infrastructure, telecom infrastructure, which a guy from Ericsson was telling our panelist. Sorry, I forgot your name, Mr. Muthu, was giving an idea around the OTT and the LTE services that they're offering. So which I clearly feel are built on what? Built on the folks that you will be becoming tomorrow, which means engineers. And the folks who are doing MBA would be selling those products, marketing those products. So the more the knowledge that you carry today, the tomorrow is better. That's my view. Thank you.
Hi. I have already spoken to all of you, and difficult for me to talk again. But I think, while all my fellow panelists gave very good point, I thought whenever you guys are thinking of media and entertainment as a business, I would say three things. First thing, you look at the meanings that you can make. What meaning are you making when you are putting up your proposition in the market? Second point that I would say about the moments. And we all know that recently there was a movie where it said that entertainment, and what? Entertainment, right? And then the third thing that you all are here, and we all are in this world to make money. So in the media business today, if you see your media and entertainment business, making money, or in any business, making money is also equally important thing. And how to make money in media business? Today you see the best blockbuster movie gets out of theater in less than a week. I remember there was a time when movie will go for Silver Jubilee and Golden Jubilee. Today, if the movie crosses a week, it's considered 200 crore business movie, right? We saw recently one of the Shah Rukh Khan movie which did. What was that? Chennai Express, right? Yeah. So the 200 crore business, in less than 7 days. So I think when you make meaning and when you make moments, the money will follow. Okay. And there are ways to think about making money in your business. I can talk to some of you. It's a huge topic. But since I have already spoken to all of you, and I have given you a way to connect any one of you are ever looking at, I think I can address that question one-on-one. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. It's indeed a good set of inputs we received. In short, if I try to collate these thoughts under broad categories, I would say there is immense amount of opportunity that exists in the telecom, media, and entertainment domain. What's important is go deeper and look at each of the verticals, be it infrastructure, right, for telecom or network. There is immense amount of work being done and more can be done. And those backbones give value to what you deliver at the end, what you see. So if you see messaging, if you see games, if you see video clips on various devices, it's the impact, it's the work of lots of black boxes sitting behind which gives all that. If you see where you can see handsets, tablets, or even web for that matter, laptops or TV, there's immense amount of R&D happening on these devices. And you would see that what you see here is coming as a result of something that's in your hand for which you pay a device, and then something you pay to a service provider, whether it is a telecom service provider or a television production house, etc. They are delivering services for you, extracting it from these core servers. So in short, I would say great opportunities. Of course, there are challenges, but keep going, keep moving forward. That's the importance of driving new innovative ideas from it. And last point on the content digitization part, I undoubtedly see that all the legacy content will be digitized and be available to all. And the schools will be going towards digital worlds. And that's going to happen if the government supports together as well, with more regulations towards that in favor of schools. Hence, in short, great opportunity. I wish you all a good luck. We should be open for questions to them. You can ask your questions, team.
Good evening, sir. My name is Sanjan Shetty from SIT. I would like to put a question towards the esteemed panel.
Anyone specific from the panel you want to ask?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, how will cloud computing revolutionize the media and entertainment sector?
Okay. I'll probably give you a user case for it, and we can go deep dive from the other stalwarts as well. First, when you entertain yourself on any kind of device, you are seeing something and you may get additional features from the same device, either in the form of vibrations or in the form of fragrance being thrown. So there is an R&D happening on devices. What you get entertained is in pieces, in pocket meal, whether 1 second, 1 minute or 1 hour clips. what it is coming out is, it's coming through a device to you, and it's coming to device from a telecom service provider or an equivalent service provider, and it's coming to a telecom provider from the core content providers who are feeding that content. So it's just a delivery channel that the entertainment content is reaching to you through the device. But there's a whole amount of engineering exercise that goes behind to make it happen. Anyone wants to add to it? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, very nice question. And, as we just heard from Mr. Jha, money is very important. Content delivery is a huge money. We do not know it. I'm sure the people sitting and hearing in the audience have lesser idea. I would just like to give a broader idea. Optimization, as Parag told some time back, today everything, 5 years back, everything was onto the isolation piece box when you talk of resources inside telecom, networks, IT security, data centers, across countries, it was isolated. Today, it is absolutely on the cloud, which means the experience sitting in India versus in London versus in US versus in Africa is almost the same. Why? Because of the internet high speed. Why? Because everything is a backbone. It is packet shaped. Packet shaped, there are devices and the equipment which shape the packet and give the similar experience throughout to the user. The dominant players of any telecom industry would just cap it. This device needed 1 MB of a connection, could be available from wherever. Now, taking things to the cloud means only internet is needed as a prerequisite. And as of yesterday, if your SITM needs to connect to, let's say, Oxford, you need to have a IPLC, you need to have a content shared on a somewhere, and somebody has to, cut CDs and send it here. Today, it's just a 2 hours job for any IT team to do it. If you want to share content, Mr. Patil wants to give a lecture anywhere, it is just so available with using what? Cloud infrastructure. So data center on cloud, networks on cloud, everything on cloud, because everything available on a click's away. So IT teams throughout sitting, YouTube example he was saying, the Google IT team must have done all the jobs for them for YouTube. So I think longer answer.
I have additional point of view for you, which is a non-technical answer. People get entertained to be on a cloud 9. So if the servers are on cloud, you'll find it cheaper and far faster availability.
Sir, but to set it up, you have to spend quite a lot of money, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
To set up the cloud computing, you need to spend a lot of money, right?
It's actually the other way around. Look at it, a cloud platform could be a shared platform which is used by various enterprises, various content companies, and make use of that platform. So it's like platform as a service. So you're not investing the money for all the servers, you're paying for what you use. Hence, an investment on cloud is beneficial.
So, just to add his point for 30 seconds, it is very big investment if you're establishing a private cloud. But it is a very less OPEX investment if it is a public cloud. It could be Azure, Microsoft, Google, could be public players.
Yes, I got it.
Good evening, sir. Kiran Raikar, SITM first year, Systems and Finance. So advertising is one of the major revenues for media and entertainment industry. But at the same time, customer experience and engagement is also important. So don't you think in the long run, the media and entertainment industry needs to compromise with one of the two?
You want to say that? Go ahead, Ishwar.
So actually, you all would have heard about the model called freemium, right? So freemium means that if you want to consume something for free, you have to help those content producers and cloud processors and computing processors to make money, right? So they would certainly put you ads, and we have seen how the ad technology itself is evolving now. There is another way right now. Many of you will have this HD services from some of the DTH operators, and they don't put ad there, right? But they charge you probably 60 rupees for one channel. So if you want ad-free service, or you want to pull what actually you want to pull, you have to pay. So one way or another, they have to make money, and you can decide whether you want to have a free model or you want to have a premium model, and you want to skip the ads and all that. And now I think technology has gone so advanced that recently I have read somewhere that Apple is developing that Apple TV, which will allow you to skip the ads. Right? So I think technologies are coming, but as a content consumer, you have to decide either you want a free model, you want a premium model, how you want to pay for it.
Thank you.
I have a couple of more thoughts for you. I come from the ad-driven industry, and he rightly said someone has to make money and someone has to pay for that content. So both the models exist, and there are new ways of improving business models. First, freemium, premium, partial ads, some portion of ads. And in future, you will be able to define the amount of screen on which you want to see an ad, 1/4 of your screen, 1/5, etc., etc. Two, you would be able to monetize, at least the guy who's delivering a service, and you who are seeing it, you'll be able to see those ads which are in line with your profile or your interest or your preferences. So if you say, I want to see an ad from Reebok, you would see ads only from those partners only. That's where you would see relevant ads, relevant deals coming your way. Lastly, technology is also serving a good hand there. Sometimes when you have an idle phone, you don't want to have a click to action on the screen that the moment you see an ad, you will be forced to say yes or no. You want to see, maybe you want to see an ad, but you don't want that to be impacting your experience. So if your phone is lying idle, it's like a billboard. The ads keep flowing. The moment you touch, vibrate, you press a button, the ads go away. So those ads are meant only for display and not for call to action. So there's a lot of effort being put in this space. You will see more changes. As for now, it's difficult. A lot of times customers are not asked whether you want to see an ad or not. You are just thrown the ad on your face. Agree on that. Anyone wants to add something? Go ahead, please. Gentlemen. Can you get the mic here on the third row, please?
Good evening, panelists. This is Vineet from SITM, second year. So my question is that since telecom, media, entertainment and IT industries are converging, but as Shishin sir said that content is now being consumed at a frantic pace. But then how to make sure that this content makes money for every one of these in the ecosystem? Telecom, media, entertainment and IT.
It is a mix of couple of things, right from production houses who make it. So if Ekta Kapoor and Balaji Studio has to make a production serial worth X lakh, X crore rupees, the production houses called Z, Sony's of the world have to pay money. Same way, in a mobile world, when you make an application, you pay 5-10 lakh rupees for an application, and the operators have to pay. Operators don't pay that money, unlike the production houses. So they go for a rev share model, and the customers land up paying for it, whether at 1 rupee, 5 or whatever price point. So on that front, to monetize that cost, it's a business modeling. So better a business model, you can make the money faster. But there is a risk involved. If you launch something in front of the customers, who knows whether it's going to make money or not? No one. No one. I can bet you. Production houses, content provider, telcos, no one can bet it's going to be a profitable business. So they take cautious calls in terms of what's an average price point, which is the market, what's the average number of customers I'm going to get, and based on that, they try to price. Sometimes, if they know that it's not going to run well, they might price it exorbitantly high so that they can get all the money in the first initial days before anyone would talk about negative of that. And that can sometimes happen for a bad movie as well. It just goes into X number of cinema halls on the day one, and in first week it makes all the money. It gets 1.5 star later on. So it's the guys who are taking a risk are the ones who do not know and they are willing to bet on it. Anyone wants to add to it?
You know, one more thing that I would like to add over here. As far as the monetization is concerned, it's already happening, so don't be under the impression that the monetization is not happening. Mobile advertising revenue is about 2,800 crores, which is not a small industry any which ways. And I personally think that mobile advertising is going to be the biggest, for a very simple reason, that if there is a message, a paid delivered on any other device, as compared to a mobile device, then it's personal, it's always on, you can to action related to it. So I think that would be a great opportunity for anybody to be in that ecosystem and make money.
Thank you, sir.
Just from a stats, from 2012 to 2014 and where we currently stand, the monetization that's been recorded, you'll see that on Nielsen, you'll see it on Jupiter. The report is $25 billion. 2016, it's going to hit $65 billion. So friends, it's digital transformation. Now those zeros behind those numbers don't make any more sense, meaning you're talking billions, tomorrow you're talking trillions, meaning there is no end to where this can lead. But it is the right business models and the approach on how you're delivering it. Because today, the content is device agnostic. It gets delivered on anywhere. The next stage that it's already in play now, you can move content from one device to the other. So you could be on 5 different devices and pick up from where you left off on the last device. You will see this happening. Coming to the earlier question, where is cloud and where is media on cloud? You talked about convergence, confluence. It doesn't stop with telecom, media, and entertainment. Tomorrow's world is the smart homes. The world of tomorrow is smart cities. There's another world about smart planets emerging. With the next landing of the next space shuttle, you're going to have live feeds from that space mission. So it doesn't stop there. Utility companies will leverage off the copper that is sunk. Telecom companies will move from copper to fiber, from fiber to wireless. But that copper that is sunk over there is going to yield revenue for the utility company and the telecom companies. The next one being transportation that falls in line. The next one being healthcare. So it doesn't stop, the journey doesn't stop, and it's all data. Voice is commodity now.
So, Suvarna from Systems. What kind of policy regulation do you expect from the government in terms of privacy of the content? Because as we see in the music industry has been with the first victim of privacy and has been used usually in the privacy part of it. So what kind of policies do we expect for this regulation?
So various countries have come out with self-regulating policies on the service providers. UK and Japan have further other regulations that has a different policy that governs. India has yet to come out with a policy, but that is what is there. So as I earlier mentioned around the whole aspect of piracy that India is plagued with, 90% of the movies within 2 days of screening is out there cut as DVDs or on the open media. So if those of you remember the movie My Name is Khan, Fox Communications sent out people along with the digital media so that it doesn't get copied. And they had a different agency going after people, and they trapped 3,000 copying centers who tried to bring out issues and copies of My Name is Khan. So there is a strong move, and that's the practice by industry. What you guys are doing with security, with policies, that's where governments are thinking. So governments may appear slow, but they need to have that slow pace to think through what is the next avenue that a fraudster would try to break into that channel.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Good evening, everyone. Actually, my name is Rachit. I'm from Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University. I'm doing BTech, so my question would be technology specific. Actually, we all know that context-sensitive advertising and entertainment is the need of the hour. For that, we require big data analytics, right? So there's no turning back from there. And for big data analytics, actually, it is the biggest challenge of technology to handle the petabytes of data and zettabytes of data. But our brains, human brains, have been doing it for ages. Like, they are handling petabytes of data, and then also a single nerve cell fires at the rate of the desktop PCs that used to fire in the 1986. So why don't we utilize the algorithm on which our human brains work so as to do the analytics of big data in a better way?
Okay. The question is right, but it's, I think the imagination is that people like you, who is in campus right now, young, you are thinking on those lines, start your innovation on this thought. That I think there is a pattern of neural network analysis and all that. I think there are lots of work happening in that area on a neural networks. This used to be a very hot topic at one point of time, but I think right now, I don't know where it is. We heard some earlier speakers, they are talking about the new systems which will be able to read the data and analyze the data in minutes. And I think then comes the people like you who should start thinking of algorithm which can make the data get analyzed faster than the brain. And I think we all are into making of something huge.
So just to put that in context, what was in the news article the other day intrigued me. I don't know how many of you saw that in the Times of India publication, where they said the challenge to the Indian BPO is here, and you have the digital BPO rep. So that is, behind that technology is a lot of neural network and a lot of artificial intelligence, contextual, syntactical assessment analysis. So that work is certainly on. So the world of that metrics that you saw is not anymore, that's fiction. That can very, very much be real in the very near future.
Sorry to intervene. We'll take a last question from this gentleman. He's been waiting for long. And then we'll be available outside for our discussions. Really sorry for that. Go ahead.
Good evening, respected panel members. My name is Samarth and I'm a first year student from SIT. My question is, after going through this panel discussion, would it be right to conclude that in this industrial areas, in the sense, in this present age, can we say that the telecom industry and the media and entertainment industries are interdependent on each other?
100%.
Can I take that? Yeah, good question. See, in fact, I was listening to all these questions, and some of us over here, we are coming from a business thought process. So I'll come back to the point that what is in it for me. And again, as you rightly said, all these industries are interdependent. All of us have seen orchestras, right? So each instrument does its work, but if they are in sync, it is music, else it is noise, right? So similarly, here, Mr. Jha will say that, yes, this is the content, right? I'll need an Ericsson to provide the hardware, right? And we will need a Capgemini and an Atos to have their applications to meet these requirements. And you also need the mobile phone companies like Carbon, who have the high definition available on your mobile to watch all this, right? So that's the essence of this entire topic, guys. And I think, I think it's a very well taken last question, where I feel that, yes, all this has to merge together. All this are interdependent. So it's like a orchestra or like a tailor who gets buttons and suit pieces and all that from different, after he stitches it, it becomes a suit. So that's what I would.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. We are really short of time, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, dear panelists, for that enlightening session. I now invite my colleagues to felicitate our esteemed dignitaries with mementos as a gesture of our appreciation. We thank our panel members for joining us today and would now request them to kindly take their seats amongst the audience.